It's time to sit back, relax, and listen to Conversations with Joan. Conversations with Joan will inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. And now, here's your host, Joan Herman.
Welcome to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life's Conversations with Joan. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in. Conversations with Joan focuses on topics that are important to your life, from health and wellness to professional development to personal well-being. Change makers join me to share their insights, tips, and strategies so you can thrive and live your best life now. Thank you for taking time for yourself, and thank you for letting us be a part of your life. Now, let's start talking. According to today's guest, Allison Carmen, at some point in life, a significant number of women may find themselves without a partner, face financial uncertainty, or shoulder the responsibility of being the sole caretaker for their children if they have any. She discusses why women should prioritize investing in fulfilling careers and building strong female friendships. Allison is a business consultant and life coach. She is the host of the podcast 10 Minutes to Less Suffering and author of The Gift of Maybe and A Year Without Men. Welcome, Allison. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Allison, you recently wrote an article for the Daily Beast, and in it, you shared some statistics that I found interesting, but I don't think many women are aware of. You wrote, women in their 30s to age 49 are about 81% partnered. By the time they reach age 65, approximately 42 to 49% will be without a partner. By age 85, that number increases to 83%. But by contrast, men remain more partnered, with 75% still in relationships at the age of 65, and then it drops to 65% at the age of 85. Why do you believe this is occurring, and do you think women are aware of this?
Well, I don't think that women are aware of this statistic, and I think that was one of the main responses to the article. Like, are you serious? Is this what's going to happen to me in my lifetime? Because it's not something that we're told when we're young. We're thinking to ourselves, oh, I'm going to go to college, or I'll get a job, and I'm going to get married. I'm going to have kids. And if you choose that life, a lot of people do, some don't. But if you choose it, you kind of think that there's a lifetime of it. This is going to be my life. And what reality is whether it is through divorce, whether a woman is left, whether her husband dies, or whatever the reason, the statistics are like this. And what's so interesting about the article is I decided I'm not to focus on why it happened, because what we do, especially as women, is like, we'll explain it away. Well, that's not my life. That will never happen to me. So I just made it statistical, so you could just look at, for whatever the reason, the stats are against me, that at some point in my life, I will be unpartnered. And what's interesting is it can go either way. Like, if you look at my parents, my mother, for her time, married older. She was 27 when she got married. She's 88 now. My father's 90. They're still together. So for my mother, her time unpartnered was up until the age of 27. But then you look at someone like me, who I was always dating. Then I got married at 25, but then when I got to my early 50s, my husband left me. So my alone unpartnered time started at the age of 52. So I'm more where the statistics are going. And what's so interesting too is I tell the story of a group of women on my terrace in their 50s, and we were at a party. And at the time, they were talking about me. They're like, oh, I feel so bad for Allison that she's unpartnered at this point in her life. She's alone. And yet, looking at these statistics, 2 years later, 2 of those women on my terrace were left, and another 2 have husbands that are not well. So look how the statistics are getting closer to at the age of 65, 42 to 49% of women are unpartnered. So it's just a reality. And then if you go to a retirement home, you go to an independent living facility, you will see that most of the older people there are women. So what's ever going on, it doesn't matter. It just needs to know that at some point you will be unpartnered. And the point of it is not to make people feel bad, but how can we have the best life possible? If this is just the way it is in the world at this moment, how can we still have joy? How can we still have happiness? How can we still have abundance? And also female friendships. Female friendships last longer than romantic relationships. The average female friendship lasts 16 years when the average romantic relationship lasts 10 years. And then over time, as you get older, female friendships last 23 years. And you and I both know we have both had friendships for over 30 and 40 years. So there is love out there. There is community, but we have to be willing to look at life on a larger scale. And that was the point of the article.
Looking at those statistics, I remember when I first read your article, I thought to myself, wow, I wish I had thought about those things, because I was raised that, you go to college, which I did, and you start a career, but then you get married, you have kids, you take care of your family, which I did. I gave up my earning power. I gave up my career to be a good, quote unquote, good wife and mother. And then I found myself at age 47, divorced, and I had given up my earning power, as I said. I didn't know what my future would hold for me. And so, looking at the ages, I got married at 24, divorced at 47, and now I'm still single. But had I thought about it, because all I thought about was the fantasy, the fairy tale, till death do us part, by the time I'm alone, I'll be old, hopefully. And I don't think I thought about the be alone part. And so all of my decisions were based on this notion of together forever, but I didn't prepare myself for what I would need at a young age, at 47 years old. And I think a lot of women are, especially in our generation, hopefully the young girls today are doing things differently. But in our generation, middle-aged women right now, I think there are a lot of them finding themselves in the situation that you and I did.
And that's one of my biggest concerns, is that I was unprepared too. When my husband left me, I had given up my earning power as well. I mean, I was earning some money, but I could not afford my life. And so I am totally into romances and marriages, and it's all beautiful and wonderful. But if you get to a point in your life, any point in your life, that you haven't worked on yourself, that you're not empowered within, you're not resilient, you're not strong, and you don't have the economic ability to support yourself, it's going to be very hard to regroup and sustain that joy and let go of that stress and have the best life you could have in that moment. And that's another reason why I wrote the article. It's like, we cannot let that economic power go no matter what. You and I spent a lot of time raising our kids, even though we both worked. But a lot of women, like, what they'll do is they'll let their education go. They don't realize that they can keep up with their credits, or they can have a part-time job or have a home business. Whatever we decide to do in life, it's really important that we don't give up that earning power, because it makes us so vulnerable to be alone and not be able to support ourselves. And that's when it's really hard not to compromise.
You make choices that aren't the best for you. You pick someone just for security, or you stay in a relationship that might be abusive or not healthy because of security.
Right. So it's not really about in relationship, out of relationship. It's just at all times, am I able to take care of myself? And the interesting thing about young women is that what I'm seeing is that, I reference, Miley Cyrus's great song, Flowers, but a lot of young women are still in this cycle in high school and college. When they graduate, like, the men are still dominating a lot of the social dating, social aspects. And even when these women are well educated, they're, always pursuing, often their single time pursuing a guy instead of pursuing themselves. And again, you find love is beautiful, but there are different types of love. Like, there's love for self, love for a friend. Even we talked about love for an animal, and there's also romantic love and love for community. It's like, we have to see that love is grand and love is great in many different ways. We have to be able to take care of ourselves economically and know that anytime we're alone, again, your period alone might be in your 20s. Your period alone might be in your 50s. It might be in your 80s. Whenever it is, we have to know that we've done the work so we can take care of ourselves emotionally, physically, economically, spiritually. We always have to know that this life is not just about this one aspect, this romantic love. It is about love everywhere. It's about self-love. It's about taking care of ourselves, having new experiences. And again, that's what I'm most interested in. Like, I think we're sold this idea that bad things don't happen in life. And, instead of classifying everything as bad or good, stuff happens. And we have to know that life has uncertainty in it, but it's how we show up for it, and it's our perspective. And if we know life will have bumps and life will have uncertainty, but we kind of build that inner person and we prepare ourselves to always be able to take care of ourselves no matter what happens, we're going to rebound. We're going to find new opportunities. We're going to find new life. and we're going to find love in all different places. And you and I are having that experience. We're both unpartnered, but we're both very happy and fulfilled. This is what life has thrown our way, and you and I have built these big businesses. We have lots of friends. We have beautiful children, and we're able to take care of ourselves financially, and we're independent. And so there are many ways to be okay. That's the thing. Every woman needs to know there are many ways to be okay, and we have to avail ourselves to that.
Allison, I think the blessing that came from my divorce is that I was able to cultivate really strong relationships with the women in my life. Once I became a single woman again, I really put my time and energy into developing these very meaningful relationships that I couldn't imagine my life without now. My sister passed away, so I don't have a sister anymore. And so these women are truly sisters to me. And, I just think it's the greatest blessing. And I see some people that I know, and it's all about finding a partner. And I understand the importance of it, and I'm not anti-partner at all. But that's all that they have this tunnel vision for, and they're missing out on so much by doing that.
And I was one of those people. I bought into the whole thing that finding the guy is the most important thing. I was very into my career, but it was finding that relationship to build that family, to build that home. I had close women relationships, but I didn't see them. I wasn't really appreciating them. And it was so interesting. My daughter came home last year, and she was out with her friends. And I said, "Did you have a good time?" And she was like, "Oh, yeah, we had a great time, but we didn't meet any guys." Mm-hmm. And I said to her, I have to say that you might want to rethink that. Because these women are more likely going to be in your life longer than any man that you meet or any guy that you date. And that's where the article came from, because I was at the Barbie movie with a very dear friend of mine, and I saw these large groups of women. And so I'm watching this movie, and it's all about like female empowerment. And I thought to myself, I bet you these women in these large groups don't realize that they will be friends longer than they will be married, than they will have their boyfriends, that these are really their lifetime partners. And again, I love marriage, I love romance, but we really do have to celebrate these female friendships. And I think recognizing them earlier in life and giving them more time. Like, I also pulled away from some of my friendships, and I was really lucky to be able to go back to them. But all along, I wish that I had taken more trips with my girlfriends, gone out with them more, stayed in touch in a deeper way, because like I said, there's all different types of love, and I think there's space for all of it. And I wish that I had seen the importance of it. And I think society, we don't recognize it, but at some point when we get older, especially because we will all be unpartnered at some point in our life, instead of looking for the guy, we should be looking for ourselves and enjoying the love that life offers us, whatever that will be. If it's a romance, if it's a friendship, if it's an experience, whatever it is, it's always there for us. But we have to untangle from the brainwash that you could only be okay one way, and that life is filled with many different things. And when we allow ourselves to see that joy comes in many different forms, we're going to have a better life, and we're going to rebound from anything that happens to us in our lifetime. Whether we lose a job, our spouse dies, our spouse leaves us, something happens with our child, like, as long as we see that richness of life and the diversity of life and can hold that perspective that life is uncertain, but because life is uncertain, good things happen too. Because I don't know, new things will come into my life. And if we're sold the story, it has to be one way. I have to be married. I have to get to the end. We're not going to see that uncertainty is offering us something different. And that was really the point of it. Like, open up your life. We don't know how it's going to go, but every moment offers you something new, and joy is always around the corner.
So you and I, Allison, we learned this in our 40s and our 50s. You have 2 daughters. What should we be teaching our children? I have boys. So what should we be teaching both sexes so that they can be better prepared for the future?
Oh, I think we have to be honest about relationships. It's so interesting. There's this divorce lawyer that I listen to on TikTok, and he says that 56% of marriages end up in divorce, and 20% after that stay together for the children. So he says if 75% of relationships, if you knew that there was a 75% chance you were going to go outside and a bowling ball was going to fall on your head, you wouldn't go outside. But we know 75% of relationships will not work out. And again, it doesn't mean we shouldn't have them. Life is for the moment. Life is for the experience. There's always a reason or a season for everything. And I think we have different seasons in our lives. And I think our kids need to see that it's not about always getting to the finish line. It's about what's in front of us, what's this moment offering us, and are we powerful within ourselves? And I think to know that something might not last forever doesn't lessen it. I think that's what it is. It's like we're judging that in order for this marriage to be good, it has to last to the end. We can have beautiful moments and beautiful experiences with each other. And if we are fully embodied, if we have taken care of ourselves, even if we're in pain, we could find happiness again. But we have, like I said, we have to be able to financially take care of ourselves, spiritually, emotionally, and physically, all along. And we have to know that we could be really enmeshed with somebody, but still have that independence. So I think just being honest about it, but not being down on love. Love is gorgeous. Love is beautiful, and there will be people that'll be married, for a long time. I don't regret being married. I have 2 beautiful children. Everything that's happened in my life has brought me to this moment. And so just to let them know the truth about things, but also in a beautiful way. It's not cynical that things end. It's cynical that we don't think that life will offer us something new. That's the cynicism. So life is long, opportunities are endless, and if we're willing to always engage and not be negative and stay hopeful and process pain, life will always give us something new. That's the gift we give our kids. But to sell them this fantasy that this relationship is going to save you, this job is going to save you, nothing saves you, we save us. We save ourselves. That's the most beautiful thing we could teach our children and share that with them in a really honest, beautiful way.
Allison, you have so much going on. Where can our listeners go to learn more about you and your work?
Well, I have a great podcast called 10 Minutes to Less Suffering. And that's just about alleviating, daily suffering, which is huge, but like just examples and stories. And it's really good for daily living. And of course, I have my books, The Gift of Maybe and A Year Without Men. And I have some great articles like, the Daily Beast article, which is called Life After Ken, When Barbie's Dream House Becomes a Clubhouse. I also have The Gift of Babies coming out in audio in a couple of months, and that's exciting, and I'm working on a new book. So there's a lot going on. So it's a really exciting time, but there are so many places that people could find my work. And the podcast is also free if people, just need a weekly kind of like tune-up as to how to live the best life that they can.
And all of this information, the hub of it, can be found at AllisonCarmen.com. Allison, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Joan. It's been a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you for joining us. I hope you found the show informative. At Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life, we believe that knowledge is power. Take what you've learned, apply it, and live your best life now. Remember that the information provided is the opinion of our guest and should never replace the advice of a professional who knows your personal situation. If you'd like more information, visit our website, cyacyl.com. That stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on our site, listen to past shows on demand, read the digital magazine, sign up for our mailing list, and be sure to follow the show on social media. Until next time, this is Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.